And we will transition to our next instructor, Tom Felton, who is with Architectural Technologies at NWTC. So Tom.
All right, yes. So I am Tom Felton. I am the architectural technology instructor, not the actor that plays Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies, just to make that clear. So when I was in high school, I thought I wanted to be an architect and was told that I needed a 4-year degree to do that. So to help pay for college, I thought it would be a good idea to join the Army Reserves to make a little extra money and take advantage of the GI Bill, which was fantastic. And I did start my schooling at the Milwaukee School of Engineering. So I went there for the architectural engineering program there for 1 year. And after that first year, my reserve unit got called up to active duty in support of Operation Desert Storm. So I did not go back to school at MSOE. I went to Saudi Arabia instead and spent about 7.5 months there in support of Operation Desert Storm. Now, when I returned, instead of going back to MSOE, I decided to go to NWTC instead for the Architectural Technology Associate Degree program. And what I discovered was that with a 2-year associate's degree in the state of Wisconsin, I could still actually become a registered architect if that's something that I wanted to do. So 2-year associate degree, a certain number of years of experience working under a licensed architect. I think it's about 6 now. And you can actually still sit for the architectural exams and become a registered architect. So there is a path to do that without getting a 4-year or master's degree in architecture. The one thing about it though is that you can only practice architecture in the state of Wisconsin. Now that doesn't mean you can't design things in other states as well, but you can't stamp those drawings officially. As far as designing with your associate's degree, you can design houses and other residential buildings with that degree. So you don't have to be a licensed architect to design a house. After my associate's degree, I actually moved to Seattle, Washington, and worked for a company there, an architecture firm, MG2 Architecture. And the projects that we did was all commercial buildings and a lot of Costco stores and retail, other retail type buildings, the occasional office building here and there as well. So I worked my way up to become the CAD manager at MG2 and decided to move back to Wisconsin. I came back and started my own business named QualCAD. So I ran my own outsourced drafting company, and that was fantastic. Actually gave me a little bit of spare time, and that's when I started teaching part-time at NWTC in the architectural program. I found out that I really liked teaching and ended up going through UW Stout for my bachelor's degree in adult education. Upon completing that, I started an architectural technology program at Western Technical College in La Crosse. They didn't have one. I actually developed it and taught there for 3 years. At that time, it was time to come back to Green Bay. Came back full-time teaching at Green Bay since 2008. And I also went back to UW Stout once again for my master's degree in adult education. So my career path has been here, there, and everywhere. And when I started out, I had no idea that I was going to end up where I am today. All right. So our program, we do start out with residential design. So learning some of the basics of print reading and understanding what it takes to design a home, code requirements, as well as structural requirements. We focus on drafting two-dimensional plans and details. We also do some modeling, so three-dimensional modeling of our buildings, our residential buildings and structures. So we get into the structural side of things as well as the framing and all of that. You'll see some chicken scratching on the right-hand side of the slide there. And that's actually structural analysis. So we do some physics when it comes to the buildings and analyzing different parts of the building mathematically. We also use spreadsheets for estimating. So essentially counting the pieces and parts, what it actually would take to order materials to build the building. All right, next slide. Then we also get into commercial construction, and we get to have a little bit of fun designing buildings and documenting that building details. So we do some renderings, some 3D modeling and renderings and presentations regarding those designs. But then we also have to get into the kind of the technical side of it. What does it really take to put on paper to be able to build the building? So we document it from the inside out, including the structural elements. So the steel connections, concrete and reinforcing. So we look at all aspects of the building. Okay, next slide. And the one thing that is probably the most exciting in our field right now is BIM, or Building Information Modeling. So more and more companies are embracing the technology and using it to their advantage for coordination. So we do have classes where we will model plumbing systems, ductwork for mechanical systems, as well as electrical systems. So building all those things into the model helps you to determine where there might be some clashes or issues before actually getting into the field. The center picture on this slide is showing something kind of cool. It's a three-dimensional scan of an existing building. So they take a 3D scanner out on site, they scan the existing building, bring that model into their design model and manipulate it for doing a remodel or changing equipment or adding machines or other things to that building. And then the last picture on the slide is showing a mixed reality view. So what we can do is actually, when the building is being built, while it's under construction, put on virtual headset or have a tablet or something out in the field, walk through the building and see where the systems are supposed to go. And we can actually see that those modeled components in the real space virtually. So it's kind of a cool thing. The direction that the industry is going is modeling everything and being as precise as possible before they actually start building the building. Okay, next slide. As far as preparation in high school, focus on math, that's important. So algebra, trigonometry for sure. If you have an opportunity to take some physics classes, or a physics class would also be helpful as well. Now in our program, we do use various software, primarily Microsoft Office products for word processing, spreadsheets, presentations. If you have other experience with those types of things, that would be helpful. And then for the two-dimensional drafting, we use AutoCAD. So there is still a need to do 2D drawings and manipulate AutoCAD. And then our 3D modeling software is Revit. And that's primarily what we use for, that's our architectural modeling, our structural, all of the systems we do in Revit. So if you have an opportunity to take, either of those two classes, or really any drafting type courses, whether it's software or, hand drafting, sketching, that's all helpful for sure. I know that Tom mentioned about, you know, shadowing classes and things, and we're certainly open to that. We will be in person in the fall, so there are opportunities to do that. We also have some students do what they call, I think it's Start College Now, and they actually take some college classes at NWTC as part of their high school courses. So that's also an option. And, you know, we're open to have high school students take our courses and start early. So that would be fantastic.
So when we were talking the other day, and you mentioned previously that you don't have to have that bachelor's degree to be doing architecture, that you can actually be doing the drafting with an associate degree. But we also talked about certification. So can you talk a little bit about that certification and what that allows you to do?
Right. So, you know, becoming a licensed architect is essentially designing commercial buildings or multifamily apartment buildings, condos, those sorts of things. So having that registration allows you to do that. Again, you can get that registration through a 2-year degree, but again, you can only practice in the state of Wisconsin. With a 4-year degree, you can practice anywhere essentially in the country. Now, as far as designing homes, there is no need to be licensed or certified in any way. So walk out the door with your associate's degree, you can design homes. Assuming they meet code criteria, you're good to go. There are other areas that you can become essentially licensed in. We've had graduates go on to become licensed plumbing designers, or even in HVAC and the mechanical side of things. You can, with experience, take the exams and become an engineer in specific to those areas.
Even though you don't need to have certification, for example, to design houses, if you were to seek employment with, you know, an architecture firm that does build houses, are they more likely to hire somebody who has that certification?
No.
Okay. Good to know.
Well, nope. To be honest, most homes are designed by people with associate's degrees. If you go to the lumber yard and you buy all your lumber materials and you get the house design from the lumber yard, 99% of those people that are doing the design only have an associate's degree.
All right, that's great to know. Allison, do you have anything?
There's no questions in the chat. I recall companies coming in and talking with your classes, and just how impressive some of the projects are that students jump right into. You know, the Lions Stadium, I remember a student talking about him working alongside that whole team. So I think that misconception of 4-year versus 2-year again, but just you jump right in because you have jumped in this program. So you're sitting right next to a whole team of engineers and you're just part of that team.
Right, absolutely. And what we're seeing is our graduates are becoming integral because they are the ones that are running the model. They're in control of the Revit, the software, and maybe the actual architect or engineer. They're not working on it every single day. So they bring in the technician to show off the model to the client. So they're becoming more integrated into that team for sure.